Hello, my name is Masha, and this is my first episode of Aligned Living. So, what inspired me to start this podcast is honestly just how much personal growth I have made in the past, probably 6 months. It is actually insane. If I look back 6 months ago, I don't even recognize the person that I am today. And that is due to realizing quite a few things. A few things happened in my life that were not great. And they helped me grow, and they helped me realize that there are certain things that you just can't rush. So today we're going to be talking about maturity and the fact that your maturity right now is exactly where you are meant to be. And I know many people will say that, you can develop maturity and maturity something, and that is true. Part of that is, learning from your actions instead of just avoiding them and not thinking about them and just moving on. You have to reflect, and that reflecting is what's going to make you mature specifically. And you have to listen to all perspectives when it comes to those things that make you change your life. Listen to everybody when they talk to you about it, because whether the opinion is good for you or bad, I would rather listen and hear something that would help me mature than not have anything at all. So the first thing that I wanted to talk about was that life will teach you. So a lot of people say that, like I said, you have to maturity comes with age and, but life will teach you if you listen. So what I mean by this is that if you keep trying to develop your skills and you keep striving forward instead of just staying in the same spot, life will teach you what you are meant to learn. And that's everything. Relationships with people, how to approach your goals for your future, how to approach your fitness journey if you're doing any of that, how you interact with people, with professionals, with your family, with everybody involved. But life will teach you. And you just have to let it. A lot of people tend to get into a very bad situation, and then they just let, people just say, just move on, move past it. It's time to, move on with your life. But I found that it was always very difficult for me to move on quickly. I always just seemed to get stuck on everything. And everyone told me that was the worst part. Stop looking at your past, because if you keep looking at your past, then you're never going to be able to move on and pursue your life further and your goals and whatever. And I always tried to listen, and I tried to push stuff out of my brain, but unfortunately it just would not let me. And honestly, I'm so thankful for that, because when you get into a situation where life feels like it is falling apart, that is your moment where you can decide to either truly let it fall apart and stay the same, or you can sit there, reflect on it, see what you did wrong, see what other people did wrong. How did you approach those people? How did those people approach you? Are they someone that gives you respect, or is it someone that's going to walk all over your boundaries? It's all of that. So the second thing that I wanted to say was to not waste your time arguing. You, in the state that you are in of maturity, most of the time, you will always think you are right. And that is something that I cannot stress enough, because when you are arguing with people that are twice your age, for example, your parents, let's say, when you are arguing with people that are twice your age, they have a different perspective on life. They grew up differently. Their family was different. Their upbringing was different. And all of that plays such a huge role in the perspective that you have on certain things. So something that you might think is disrespectful, other people might not. But the difference is if you pay attention to their intentions. So, for example, my parents, they were born in Russia, and then we moved here, and I was born a few years after that. The culture that they grew up in is completely different. And I spent so much of my life sitting there and blaming them for the way that they had raised me and how I felt like my emotions were neglected, because when you at home, I had a certain culture and a certain life, but then when I went to school, the culture was completely different because American culture and Russian culture are very different. I felt that they just didn't want to listen and didn't want to hear to what I had to say. But that was not true. They just didn't know how to express themselves either. And whether you can forgive that or not is up to you, and whether you're willing to work on that relationship or not. But having your emotions unheard throughout your childhood plays such a big role later, because not only do you interpret things from people differently, because now you're so like hypersensitive to people paying attention to your emotions that you're constantly trying to focus on, like, is that person trying to invalidate my emotions or not? Most of the time, they're not, but you have to know the difference, and that comes with the intention. If you are talking to a person and you tell them that this thing hurt you, and you are genuinely telling them to not do this thing because it affected how you see yourself or whatever, but it hurt your feelings, their response to that is what you're going to want to look at. So don't look at just the action of how they hurt you. You have to communicate. If you do not communicate something hurt you, you can't assume that the person's going to know that most of the time. Unless it's just something completely ridiculous, then yeah, don't excuse that. Absolutely not. Don't let people walk all over you. But if their response is, I'm sorry that hurt you, my intention was not that way, my intention was this way, and you see that in the future they try to change those actions, that's what you want to look at. Because the people that will change for you are the people you want in your life, because it's something that you would do for that person, So don't waste your time arguing, because communication is so much better. You can yell until you're blue in the face that something hurt your feelings. But if you don't communicate why and that you want it to change, it doesn't matter. Because they won't understand. They won't understand why. You should explain. It's not fair to have a person assume that. The third thing is not to stress about things you can't control. And that specifically, I mean, a lot of the time, when we're laying in bed and it's like 1 a.m. and our mind is just racing, we're thinking about, 6 years down the line, I have to do this, or 5 years down. Fuck the 5-year plan. Fuck the 5-year plan. So much changes in a year, you have no idea. You can have goals, but those goals can change. So don't stress about things that you can't control that are so far out in the future. It's just going to stress you out and make you feel like you're not enough. And that feeling of not being enough is going to hold you back from reaching those goals that you have set or creating new ones that you would like to achieve. Okay, the fourth thing, don't hold on to people that hold you back. Oh my God. Okay. Like I said, if you are yelling until you're blue in the face that this hurt your emotions and you can't deal with this any longer, and they are just making up excuses for what their actions were instead of saying that they're sorry that it hurt their feelings and they're going to try to change it in the future and actually put effort into that, you don't need them. It's all intention over action. I strictly stand by that. But those people will hold you back because now not only are you, for example, I have to balance school, work, and all of my my fitness activities and hobbies that I have, right? I have 2 dogs too. And so now, on top of all those things that you have to deal with, now you're sitting here begging someone to care about your feelings. Girl, stand up. Stand the fuck up. Never, ever beg someone to care about your feelings. It is so not worth it. You can find that person times 10. The other thing is, don't ever let yourself feel the feeling of uncare twice. As soon as they do it once, and then you forgive them and wait for them to respond to that and change something, and they don't, leave. I am telling you, it is so much better to leave at that moment instead of continuing to create a relationship with that person, and then they just keep doing the same thing over and over, because then you're just stuck in this repetitive cycle. Like, it's scary to leave, but what's scarier is staying in a relationship where someone does not want to change for you or want to change their actions that hurt you, even if they don't understand it. Even if you explain your feelings and you're genuine about it and they see that and they start making a change, thank God. But if they don't, never, ever, ever leave right then and there. All of this is going to impact your maturity, is what I'm trying to say. Do it once, but don't ever do it twice, because you're gonna regret it. And honestly, you won't understand that. I can tell you until I'm blue in the face that that's the truth, but until you feel it and you experience that, you're not gonna understand. And that's just the sad truth. So what I'm saying is, you're gonna go through it, but just have me in the back of your mind just sitting there being like, remember that one random podcaster that I listened to one time 5 years ago? Maybe she was right. And then your maturity will start growing from there. The next thing I want to talk about is to always set boundaries and hold to them. Those people that are going to break your boundaries are the same people that are going to continue disappointing you. Like, if they don't have enough respect to adhere to those boundaries that you create and you explain to them, they never will. Like, it's as simple as that. I've had so many people that I've met, and I feel like when I meet people, it goes one of two ways. Either I'm the kind of person that says it really real to you. Like, I tell you straight up how it is, And some people will listen and they will see that as a benefit. And some people will see that as you attacking them. And those people that see that as you attacking them are the people that have a problem with their self-identity, and they are not mature or real enough with themselves to admit things that they're doing wrong. So someone telling them is just going to make them lose their shit. So yeah, adhere to those boundaries. It's going to bring the best people to you in your life and get rid of the people that really just aren't worth your time. Like, it's going to save you so much time in friendships and relationships and even professional boundaries. If you work in a workplace and you tell your boss that you have a strict schedule and you take the time to lay out that schedule for them and tell them, this is what I can do. Working for you is not my entire life, but I want to benefit both of us in our relationship. So adhere to this list of boundaries that you give them, like what times you can work or who you're not willing to work with or whatever. Always keep to those boundaries. If they do not respect those boundaries, they do not respect you. And that means that you working there, you're always going to seem like a lower pin, and you're going to feel like it too. Because you're letting that person walk all over you. They are also a person. Who are you to let them walk all over you like that? Just because they might hold a position higher than you. Like, you think about it. You wouldn't do that if you were in their position. So why are you letting them do it to you? Find a different workplace. There are a lot of workplaces that are good. Unfortunately, there's a lot that are bad. And honestly, like, I can't just ask you to leave your workplace if it's the only thing making you money. Like, that's a different situation. I mean, like, if you have the option between multiple businesses and one of them is respectful and the other one's not, don't stay at the one that disrespects you just because you feel like that's what you deserve, because it's not. Okay, number 6. Blaming others is useless because you cannot drill in maturity. Oh my God. You guys, this is such a big one. You and another person will not be on the same level most of the time, okay? If you and the person are not on the same level and you're sitting there blaming them for not being mature or not understanding the situation, and you're obviously right, if they keep arguing with you and they're telling you you are wrong, it's not worth your time. that is something that just comes with time. Life will teach you who is worth fighting for and who is not. And the people that are insulting you and making you feel bad about yourself because you are communicating are not the people you want in your life. Number 7, show vulnerability, but to an extent. This is very controversial because depending on your gender, to be honest, if you are a woman, being vulnerable seems like society tells you it is in your nature. You are supposed to be vulnerable and emotional, and you're so sensitive, and yeah, fuck that bullshit. No, we're not doing that. It is 2025, bro. Come on. Men are just as emotional as women. Let me say it again. Men are just as emotional as women. Look at men that throw their controllers into the TV. Look at our president. Sorry, going to be president. Not yet, but yeah. That means that vulnerability is a very scary thing because making yourself vulnerable to someone means that you are exposing a part of yourself that you are truly trusting for that person to keep secure. And sometimes people don't even know how to keep themselves secure. They use your vulnerability to their advantage. Being vulnerable with the right people is something that makes such a deep connection, but being vulnerable with the wrong people is one of the biggest mistakes you can make. If a person truly has a bad intention for you, you can cry and keep telling them how much something hurts. If they make you feel invalidated for that in any sort of way, be careful. That person is very dangerous. But again, vulnerability to an extent. For example, personally, like when I go through a breakup, right? I am very vulnerable. I feel very, that's abandonment. You feel very out there. Something that I used to do is try and beg to make that person understand that I am very hurt because I want them to feel what I'm feeling. If you and that person are not together and there's a reason you broke apart and they are playing the victim, it does not matter how much you cry your eyes out in front of that person. They will take advantage of your vulnerability and make you feel even worse. Do not let that happen to yourself. It's something that breaks you apart and it's very hard to rebuild from. But again, that is something that develops maturity. So you probably will go through it, but know that it is normal. It happens. People go through it, and there's people that'll understand and that'll be by your side to help you. But there's people that just don't. They don't respect vulnerability, and they think it makes you look weak because they don't know how to be vulnerable, and they think it makes them look weak, so they apply it to other people as well. The last one that I'm going to quickly talk about is taking criticism but not disrespect. There's a huge difference between criticism and disrespect. Criticism is good. Criticism is something that you can mature from. However, disrespect is a lot more common. So know when a person and how they talk to you, try to realize if that is criticism or if that is disrespect. And if it's criticism, as much as it is difficult, try not to fire up and blow. Because think about yourself in their position trying to explain their feelings or something to you, Just reverse the roles and see how you would feel. And think about, you can tell if it's criticism or disrespect if you switch and put yourself in their position and think if you were feeling the same thing, would you communicate the way that they are communicating? If the answer is yes, then it is criticism. But if the answer is no, then they are being disrespectful and you need to put them back in their place to respect your boundaries and hold to that. If you want to give them another chance, at least make that line very firm and clear. Because if you don't make it clear, they're going to know that if they can do it once, they can do it again. And that, my friends, is how maturity develops partly. There's a lot of other things, but yeah, biggest things are you gotta let yourself feel things and process them for a long time. And sometimes you will start processing something and you think that you've reached the end of that processing, but then you mature from something else and you look back at that situation and your perspective is completely different. So give yourself that time, because you never know. You never know. And that's it.
Thank you for listening. Please smash that like and download button, and I hope to see you next time on Aligned Living.